Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom's July celebration sale has begun, and they also have a fun new release. Jaded Blossom's huge July celebration sale has begun. This is the time to grab all those fun items on your wish list. I completely understand if you want to pause the video, go shopping, then come on back and I'll show you the new July release and also some fun cards I made using the new products. Here's a quick look at the July release. Lots of great new products. There is a freebie, the airplane stencil. The only way to receive the airplane stencil is to purchase the full release package. As always, you'll save by purchasing the release package, plus you'll get the fun monthly freebie. The first die set is a gnome add-on set called Travel. Jaded Blossom already has so many fun themes for their gnomes, but they keep coming out with more and more great ideas. I'll pull all of the dies out of the bag so you can get a better idea of what's included. There are several new items for the gnomes to hold. There's an airplane, a camera, a cell phone on a selfie stick. There's a passport and even die pieces to add the teeny tiny image of the gnome onto the passport. There's also a steering wheel for a ship, a small ship, and the Earth. The set also includes luggage, but it's a little too large for the gnomes to hold. So Jaded Blossom already has the boy and girl gnome set, and now they've released mini gnomes. So we have the boy set on the left and the girl set on the right. The mini gnomes are about 2.5 inches tall. Their original gnomes are about 3.5 inches tall, and that's including the hat. And here's a comparison with the original size dies next to the mini gnome size. So with the mini gnomes, you have the hat, the girl has a skirt, few different hair options for the girls, 2 different sizes of feet, and then the beard and mustache for the boy. The reason Jaded Blossom released the mini gnomes is to better fit some of their new die sets like this one, the Car Dies RV Camper. The original gnomes are way too big for the camper, but the mini gnomes work really well. The new RV camper is super cute. I'll pull out the 2 sheets of dies. So there's the one large die. You can use this as the background, the guide to assemble. I'll remove it from the backer, hold it up to an A2 size card base so you can see the size. First, I need to remove it from this backer piece. There's no more snipping required for Jaded Blossom's newer set, but they are stuck to the little cardstock piece with some adhesive. So here's the camper against an A2 size card base. It only works horizontally. It'll be too wide for a vertical card, but there's still enough room around the camper where you could add some decoration, a sentiment, plus you can put one of the gnomes in front. So I'll grab one of the mini gnomes. This is the girl. And technically, she is still a little large for the camper. If you hold her up to the door, there's no way she would fit inside, maybe without her hat. But it still works just fine. And as a comparison, here's the original gnome. And she is either a giant gnome or that RV camper is super small. And with the mini gnomes being so much smaller than the original gnomes, you could combine the 2 on a card and it'll look like the gnome's child. I think that would be really fun. The next die set is hot air balloon dies, and this is one of my favorites from the release. This would be a really fun set to use year-round. There aren't a lot of pieces, so it's very easy to assemble. We have the large background piece, and I'll hold it up to an A2 size card base. This basically fills the entire card. And as a comparison, I'll show you the mini gnome and the original gnome with the hot air balloon. And I think both sizes actually work. So there's the mini gnome, probably more appropriate size for the hot air balloon. But here's the original gnome, and yes, it's a little bit bigger, but I think it would still be really fun to use. And don't forget about all of Jaded Blossom's gnome friends and the pets. Instead of gnomes riding the hot air balloon, you could have a cat, a dog, a bunny, even a snake or hamster. So here's a look at all of the die pieces for the hot air balloon. Super easy to assemble, and later on in the video I will be assembling one of the hot air balloons. So next up we have the sentiment set called Sky is the Limit, and there are coordinating outline dies. As always, lots of great sentiments. Many of them on this set work perfectly with the hot air balloon. And I love having the outline dies to cut out those sentiments. So that's everything that's included in the July 2025 release. And if you're interested in any of the products, I do have links in the description box below. Another new item that's not part of the release package are the MDF pieces. There's the RV camper and both mini gnomes, the boy and the girl. So for the RV camper, it's only available with the stand. The mini gnomes has the stand or the hang tag ring option. Jaded Blossom's MDF pieces have been super popular. They're available for their original gnomes, plus all the gnome friends and a few other fun pieces. These are great for gifts, decor. I have a bunch of them on a shelf in my craft room. And if you want to decorate that top layer of the stand, Jaded Blossom even has an MDF Standing Base die set. I have several card designs to share using some of the new release items. Let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. And I do apologize that this is completely washed out. I have brand new lights and I'm still playing with the settings. They really don't like white. I have a piece of A2 size white cardstock in a mini stencil mat. I'm adding color all over the background using Catherine Pooler's Tranquil ink color. It's a very light blue. So this will be the sky for the hot air balloon. I'll set that aside for now and start assembling the hot air balloon. And I did use some pattern paper for several pieces. This is from Echo Park's Yankee Doodle collection. I love using patriotic colors, and this is a brand new collection, so I couldn't resist buying it. For the very background, I'm using white cardstock, and this will all be covered up. It's basically there as a guide as you're assembling your different images. I used brown cardstock for the basket. There is one piece that has both of the basket pieces, but there's also the individual pieces if you want to use different colors. I'm using the same color brown, so once those are attached, I'll adhere it on the background piece of the balloon. Now I'll add that bottom piece of the hot air balloon. I use some of the pattern paper, the blue with white polka dots. For the balloon strings, I use some white pearlescent cardstock. You could skip this step if the background of the balloon is the color you want for the strings. I like having those individual pieces, plus it adds more stability to the overall die cut image. For the main balloon area, this would be the fabric. I went with patriotic colors. They have a linen texture look to them, but it is pattern paper, so it's smooth. The larger piece, I used the blue, then red and white. I love the faux stitch detail that Jaded Blossom always has for their die sets. So just one more piece on the left side, the white. It's not really white, it's a slightly off-white, but it works for the patriotic colors. I'll also be adding the little flag bunting piece. I use white shimmer cardstock for the main piece, although you'll only see the string. Then I used a dark blue cardstock for the individual flag or banner pieces. I'll put barely art glue on the back and adhere the triangle pieces down. They line up perfectly with the background piece, so if you have them adhered down correctly, you'll see just the white string above them. Then I'll add more adhesive and adhere it at the top of the balloon. You can put it straight across. I'm putting it at a slight angle. Since it is almost Independence Day, decided to add some small stars inside those blue flags. The star dies are from Jaded Blossom's original Embellishment Cluster die set, and I cut them out of silver holographic cardstock, so they have this beautiful shine. I'll adhere one star inside each of the blue flag pieces. And I use the medium-sized star from the Embellishment Cluster die set, since there are 3 different sizes of each shape. So now I'll grab the inked background piece, and I'll be adhering the hot air balloon at an angle. To create more of the sky look, I'm adding a few stitched cloud die cuts, and these are included on Jaded Blossom's rainbow die set. There are 4 different sizes and styles of the clouds. I'll put 1 on the left side, 2 on the right side, and I will have them flush on the very edge of the card, so part of the cloud will be cut off. I'll adhere the clouds down, then flip over this panel, and with a pair of scissors, I'll trim off the overhang. At the very bottom of the card, I'll add 3 green tree die cuts. The dies are from a set by Pretty Pink Posh. It's the Pine Tree set. I'm adding 3 of the trees at the very bottom of the card, so it'll look like that hot air balloon is high in the sky and drifting above the trees. I'll put 2 trees on the left side and 1 on the right. And once I adhere the 3 trees down, I'll flip over the panel and trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. So there's the background for the hot air balloon. We have our sky with clouds and just the top of a few trees. I'll flip over this panel, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base. So now we need a rider inside the balloon. And instead of a gnome, I'll be adding one of the gnome friends. On the back side of the balloon basket area, I'm putting a piece of clear double-sided adhesive tape, and that will help hold the gnome friend cat in place. I've already assembled the cat, and yes, it's missing a tail, and don't be alarmed, but I also cut off his back legs. With the back legs, you can see the knee area, and it looked a little odd just peeking out from the top of the basket, so I decided to trim those off. I'll put a little bit of glue behind the cat's ears and top of the head, so it'll be sitting in front of the hot air balloon. We won't talk about safety. Don't worry, the cat will be just fine. I did add another piece of clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back to help hold the cat to the hot air balloon. And now I'll flip it over and put foam dimension on the back. I'm using scrapbook.com's 1/4 inch foam in the 1mm thickness. I'll make sure to get good coverage. This is a fairly large piece, so I need quite a bit of foam. Now I'll remove the release paper and add the hot air balloon on my card. And I'm adhering it at a slight angle. I think it gives the hot air balloon that look of flight when it's at an angle. I will add the cat's front paws on the edge of the basket. See, the cat's being safe. He's at least holding on. Put glue on the back to adhere the paws in place. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. Happy 4th of July. And this sentiment and outline dies are from Jaded Blossom's God Bless America set. So there is my finished card, and I did make 3 using this design. Since I cut out the 3 different colors for the top area of the hot air balloon, I figured I may as well make 3. And now I'm already ahead on my Independence Day cards for 2026. While I was prepping cards for this video, I cut out a bunch of the mini gnome pieces. So I have the background pieces, their bodies, different color beards, lots of skin tone colors, and also different color hair for the girl. I did cut out some shoes, but ended up not using them. I love the gnomes with bare feet. I think they're super cute that way. Now moving on to card design number 2, I'll be assembling both the boy and girl mini gnomes. So for that very background piece, I use white cardstock. You can use whatever color you want since it will be covered up. For the girl gnome, I always start by attaching the skirt. Next, I'll add her hat. There is one part of the mini girl gnome that's different from the original gnome, and that's her face. On the original, it's an oval, but on the mini, it's cut so that top portion of her face lines up with the bottom curve of the hat. Next, I'll add her nose and then her hair. The skin tone cardstock I use for the girl gnome is Concord and Nine's Nectar color. The skin tone I use for the boy gnome is one of the colors included in P13's skin tone paper pad. And you can purchase that paper pad at Jaded Blossom. You may have noticed I didn't pull out any feet for the gnomes. And don't be alarmed, but I'm also cutting off those little feet nub pieces on the background. Since the gnomes are both riding in a hot air balloon, you won't be able to see the feet, so there really isn't a point of adding it. And I cut off the little nubs since I wanted to make sure they wouldn't accidentally peek out the edge of the hot air balloon basket. For the boy gnome, I always start with the beard, then I'll add the hat, next the mustache, and the nose. For a little extra decoration on the hot air balloon basket, I'll be adding this 3-star cluster. This was originally a full piece that goes all the way across the card. I cut out just 3 of the stars, and this die set is from Jaded Blossom's banner die set. I use white shimmer cardstock for the white stars, and the smaller stars I use some silver holographic cardstock. So there are most of the pieces all assembled. Here's the hot air balloon I'll be adding. Already assembled it since I showed how to do it for the previous card. The pattern paper is from the same Echo Park collection, Yankee Doodle. Although this time I'm not making an Independence Day card, I'll be making a birthday card. I will be popping up the hot air balloon with foam dimension. I have it behind the main portion of the balloon, but I haven't added it behind the basket. On the back side of the basket, I put a strip of double-sided adhesive tape, and this will hold those gnomes in place while I get everything adjusted. The boy will go on the left side, the girl will be behind him slightly on the right side, and their hats will be in front of the balloon. You could put them behind if you prefer it that way. Since I'm putting them in front, I will put a little bit of glue behind the tip of each of their hats. With the mini gnomes, there are 2 hand options. One is the open palm, so it looks like they're waving. And the other hand is the same as the original, so it looks like they're holding something. They kind of have their fist closed, and you can see their fingers and thumb. I gave the boy gnome one of the waving hands, and then the other 3 hands are all gripping on the edge of the basket. For the background of my card, I used some pattern paper from the Yankee Doodle collection, layered it on dark blue cardstock, and I forgot to add my clouds since I'm making it look like the sky. I'll hold the clouds up to the card, flip it over, use my scissors, trim off the overhang, and then I'll glue the clouds down putting the edge flush with the pattern paper edge. Put one cloud on the left side, two on the right, so fairly similar to the previous card. Since I will be adding the hot air balloon, you'll only see a tiny bit of the three clouds, but I think it really adds to the look of the hot air balloon being up in the sky. Now I'll add the hot air balloon, but I still need to put some foam dimension behind the basket and the two gnomes. I'll remove the release paper, and instead of putting the hot air balloon at an angle, this time I'm putting it straight up and down with the very bottom edge of the basket at the bottom edge of the pattern paper. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out, flying by to say happy birthday. And this sentiment is included on the new Sky is the Limit stamp set. The ink color I use for the sentiment is Catherine Pooler's Juniper Mist. It's this nice dark blue color. I'll put glue on the back of the sentiment, add it at the top of the balloon. Now I'll add my 3-star cluster piece on the basket. I'm trimming off that tiny bit of the string on the right and left side. I'll put glue on the back of the 3 stars and add them in front of the basket, just for a little extra decoration. For embellishments, I'm adding 3 dark blue stitch star die cuts. And the dies I use are from the banner die set. They include 2 different sizes of stars. I'll add 2 stars on the left side of the sentiment and 1 on the right side. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a white gel pen, adding highlights on both of the gnome's hat and a little detail at the top of the hot air balloon basket. So there is my finished card. I think this one is super cute, and I did make 2 using this design. The basket is a little crowded with the 2 gnomes. You could add just 1, but they really wanted to go up and see the views together. I love the hot air balloon so much. I think it would be perfect to make cards year-round. I didn't have time to finish the cards, but I did make 8 more hot air balloons. And these are different holidays and seasons. So Valentine's Day, Easter, summer, sunflowers would work for summer or fall. Then I have fall, Halloween, Christmas, and winter. Just think of all the different themes you could use to decorate your hot air balloon. Using the new mini gnomes and MDF pieces, I have the girl gnome and the boy gnome. These are both with the stand, and I'll put them next to the original gnome so you can see the comparison in size. And I also assembled 2 of the mini gnome MDF with the hang tag ring piece. These are all so cute. If you don't want to make cards and you'd rather make little decor, Jaded Blossom has you covered with their fun MDF pieces. And I did decorate the top of the MDF stand piece. Now moving on to card design number 3, it's time to assemble the new RV camper. I used white cardstock for the very background piece, but just like all the others, it will be covered up with the individual die cut pieces as we assemble. I'm making a teal camper. So the main body of the camper, I'm using this solid teal cardstock. I used a slightly lighter teal cardstock color for the front area of the RV. And I used a bunch of cardstock scraps. I love digging through my cardstock scrap drawers. That way I don't have to cut into new pieces of cardstock. For the windows of the camper, I used some white shimmer cardstock. And for the door, this is pattern paper. It's from one of Doodlebug Designs' Petite Prints. A light teal with a tone-on-tone polka dot design. For the back window on the camper, this only fits one direction. The very left side of the window does have a slight angle. I first tried to put it in the other direction and it did not line up. For the 2 narrow strips on the camper, I used some teal mirror cardstock from my stash. Since it is a metallic specialty cardstock, this piece did curl up quite a bit. After putting glue on the back, I'll place an acrylic block on top. Let that sit for a few minutes so it'll lay nice and flat. Wasn't sure if this is a window on that top area above the driver portion. I know there's usually a bed up there. I'm making it a window, so I did use some white shimmer cardstock. And then that small piece on the very upper right side, using more of the teal mirror cardstock. For the wheels, I cut these out of black cardstock, and the hubcap area I used some silver mirror cardstock. I also used the silver mirror cardstock for the bumper on the camper. For the back wheel cover, I cut this out from the same darker teal cardstock, and I will pop it up using some small foam squares from scrapbook.com. Now I'll add the front bumper piece, and for the headlights, I used some yellow glitter cardstock. Trying to find the back bumper piece. Many of my die cut pieces in the stack and sort tray are upside down. For the two handles, the one on the camper door and then the front door, I used some silver satin mirror cardstock. They are fairly small pieces, so first I'll add that small line of barely art glue, and then I'm picking them up using the wax tip end of scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool. So there's the basic look of the RV camper, but there are some little pieces to decorate, including the curtains for the very back window and also the side door window. Want to add that pop of pink, so I use some more petite print paper from Doodle Design, so pink with white polka dots. This set also includes the option to add some fairy lights. I've assembled most of it since there are quite a few tiny pieces. I used some gray cardstock for the main piece, and you'll only see the string with that gray cardstock. Then for the lights, there's a larger piece. I used some silver mirror cardstock, so that would be the little attachment of the bulb. And then for the actual lights, the bulb, I used yellow cardstock. I'm attaching the silver piece first, and then adding the yellow bulb on top. I have two more bulbs to attach. Then I'll put glue on the back of the strings and the bulbs and adhere it at the very top of the camper. I think this is super cute and really adds to the fun camper detail. I almost forgot to add the two little ties for the back curtains. And you could also add these for the side window curtains, but I'm just putting them on the back curtains. I cut out the ties from some darker pink cardstock. This is the same cardstock color I use for the gnome's hat. So there's the camper completely assembled with all the decor. And if you don't want it on a card, you could always adhere it to the camper MDF piece with stands. I'll be adding my camper onto a card. So I've already inked up the background. I used Distress Oxide tumbled glass ink color for the sky, added a strip of green cardstock at the bottom, and that piece is 1 1/8 of an inch by 5.5 inches. I didn't show it, but I did put foam dimension on the back, so I'll add my camper on the card so it's sitting in the grass. For sentiment, I'm adding Travel the Open Road. And this sentiment is from Jaded Blossom's Beautiful Ride stamp set, and I cut it out using the coordinating outline dies. I've already assembled one of the girl mini gnomes. I did pop her up using foam dimension. I have a slightly thicker foam dimension behind her body and thinner foam dimension behind her hat, and that's the area that will sit in front of the camper. I'll remove the release paper, add her in front of the camper so it looks like she's sitting on the grass. I'll be adding some white flowers, and the flower dies are from the Spring Embellishment Cluster die set. I'm having the gnome hold one of the larger flowers. I'll attach her hands on the right and left side of the flower, then flip it over, put foam dimension on the back. Then add the flower in front of the gnome. And then the 3 smaller flowers I'll glue down in the grass. For a final finishing touch, I'll use a white gel pen and add just a few highlights, adding some on the camper, the wheels, and the gnome's hat. So there is my finished card. Who wouldn't want a teal camper? This die set is perfect to make cards for your friends and family that love to go on adventures in their RV. And I did end up making 2. For the gnomes, I changed the skin tone and also the hair color. This is such a fun design, and you could decorate it so many different ways. Instead of cardstock, you could use pattern paper for the camper. For card design number 4, I'll start off by assembling the passport. I use dark blue cardstock for the very background piece, and I did use the piece that has the little handholds. I don't always, but decided to for this card. Then for the individual main pieces of the passport, I also use dark blue cardstock. For the little window, this is where you'll add the gnome's picture. I use white cardstock, and I'll just inlay that. Now this will probably be the smallest gnome you'll ever make. And it's only a partial gnome since it does need to fit inside this tiny window. The picture will be of a boy gnome. So I'll start with one of the larger pieces, which is his beard. And then I'm using red pattern paper for his hat. I know the 2 die pieces don't look like they'd be a beard and a hat, but they are cut off on the top and the bottom, so they fit inside this picture window area. I use gray cardstock for the beard and mustache, and the final piece is the teeny tiny nose. Then I'll add the little stamp seal, and I cut this out from gold mirror cardstock. So there's the passport all assembled. I think this is so cute. Now I'll add the hands. And since there's so many layers of cardstock with the passport, I'll put foam dimension in that little area where the hands go, remove the release paper, and then attach the hands. I thought about popping up the passport, but I think with all those layers, I'll simply glue it right in front of the gnome. So I've already assembled most of the card. I use more pattern paper from the Yankee Doodle collection. I have the boy gnome, and he's wearing the same red hat that's featured on his passport. I did pop him up using foam dimension. And for a sentiment, I'm adding fun adventures with my gnomies. Using the outline die, I cut out a second piece from dark blue cardstock, offset them slightly so you can see just a little bit of that blue underneath and on the left side of the sentiment. For embellishments, I'm adding some blue stars, and the stars are from the original Embellishment Cluster die set. For a final finishing touch, I added a few highlights using a white gel pen. So there is my finished card. Using the same pattern paper, I have another card. This is a girl gnome, and she's holding the ship steering wheel. Added the sentiment Ahoy Gnomie. Then I have one more card featuring the airplane stencil, and this is the freebie you'll receive if you purchase the full release bundle. The background die I use for the airplane stencil card is Jaded Blossom's window card matte die. And I will have all the products I used in this video linked in the description box below. Now here's another look at the 10 cards and 4 MDF pieces I made using Jaded Blossom's July 2025 release. They never disappoint with their amazing releases. I love the new edition of the mini gnomes, and the hot air balloon and RV camper are super cute. And while you're checking out the new release, be sure to take a look at all the MDF pieces that they have available. Don't miss out on Jaded Blossom's largest sale of the year. It's going on right now through July 20th, 2025. This is a great time to grab all those fun items off your wish list. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.